right, welcome to another edition of We Talk Photo. I am your host, John Pedersen, along with my co-host, Jack Graham.
Hi,
Morning,
everybody.
Jack.
How's
Happy
things
holidays, I
going,
think.
John?
Say again?
Is it raining in Portland?
It is raining in Portland. That's what
You,
keeps
you
us
know what that
green.
means? That means it'll be raining here in about 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot. We're still projected for a drier winter, but I did see that some of the models for El Nino are breaking down, so it
Oh, yeah.
won't be as strong of an El Nino as what they originally forecast. So
It's the weather. They have computers, they have everything, but
yeah,
it's going to do what it's
they
going to do.
can't predict it.
No.
So Jack, this is this is probably our last podcast before the holidays and the start of the new year. So we're
Time
kind of
flies.
doing a little. Yeah, time does fly. It's been a busy year this year, and kind of looking forward to turning the tables. We'll talk about next year here in just a second, but yeah, we kind of wanted to do a little bit of a holiday episode, talk about a few fun things, and see where the conversation goes.
Before we get going, John, because when we finish these podcasts, sometimes, I don't know about you, but when you get to be really old like me, you forget things. So before we knock things off for the podcast, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, John, and I want to thank all my really good friends for their thoughts, prayers, everything with this little medical thing I'm dealing with, and just the support over the years. Man, I look through my contacts on I do a purge every year, and I get rid of some contacts that I really don't need in there because there's so many. But boy, I am so fortunate, to have met the people through photography and music and some other things. But for those of you who are watching, thank you all for everything, and workshop attendees and just whatever. I just take a minute to do that. I think
Yeah,
I
I
don't think
echo
enough
your
people
sentiments, Jack.
do
It's
that.
been a wonderful year and lots of great people in our lives. And you have said for a while now, it's not what we do is not as much about the photographs, but it's more about the experience. And
Totally.
with that, I will say the people that we meet on these things and the
Yeah.
friendships that we develop, that's, in my opinion, kind of the true joy of what it is that we do here.
I mean, I got a text from I'll say his name, from Tom Morris. You know Tom.
Yeah.
He's a client from Ohio. Great guy. And out of the blue, how are you feeling? How's everything going? Just wanted to say hi, just seeing how you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get a lot of that, and I mean, that's what life is about. It's not about
It is.
it's not about the showing everybody how great a photographer you are.
Yeah, well, speaking of great photographers, I think I'll kick off. You and I talked about it a little bit, but I went
You're
and
going to talk about
saw.
me?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Let's
You're a
talk
great
about you.
photographer. No, let's talk about Art Wolf. I was I was fortunate enough to go see his presentation this week in Portland, and he's got a new book out called Wild Lives, which is a compendium of hundreds of photographs. I think the book is about 400 pages long. It's huge. It's 11 by 14, and it must weigh about 25 pounds. It's an amazingly huge book, but it was great to see Art, say hi, and listen to him tell stories about some of the various photographs that he has shot over the years. And even as I was sitting there watching him, that guy has been to the four corners of the earth multiple times. It is so amazing. And, again, I was reminded of what we just talked about. It's the experiences, not necessarily the photographs, but the stories and the experiences and the people that you meet. And that is one blessed individual for his ability to go out and do all that stuff. So if
And do it
folks
at the level that he does it.
and do it at the level he does, you bet. So if you get a chance to see his presentation, go do it. If not,
Get the
check out
book.
his book. It's
I was talking to them the other day about a few things, and I talked to Libby for quite a while. And by the way, Libby said that you and I probably should know the bear that's on the cover of that book.
yeah.
I bet we photographed that bear as
Yeah, I
well.
probably so for those that are watching on YouTube, sorry about the audio people. Here is Art's book, if you can see it. I don't know how to
It's
get it
kind
to
of
come
going in
in.
and out. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Hold it
But
in front of you, John.
it's this bear that's lunging in the river with its forepaws out of the water, and you can see its claws. And that's the one bear photograph I don't have yet that I'm dying to get. But
I
yeah, I'm
kind
sure
of
we've seen that bear.
not as good as Art's.
No.
Maybe you should link that book on the show notes here for
I
Art.
will. I will for
Um,
sure.
Just so you all know, we're trying to get Art on here, and I think it's going to happen, but that'll be down the road. But you know, he does travel and nature and wildlife and some other things at the highest level, and there are few people that can do that.
Yeah.
People that can do one or two, but not all three or four things.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Yep.
And he's a hell of a nice guy and a great storyteller. So
Yes.
check it out if you can.
Yes.
So Jack, as we're coming up to the end of the year, everybody in the photographic world starts to publish their best of 2023. And every year I feel peer pressure that I have to do that. And some years I haven't, but again, every year I sort of feel this peer pressure that I need to do something like that. And it in a way it kind of bothers me that I feel this pressure, and it's self-inflicted pressure. But there's a value, I think, in looking back over the year and seeing what worked, what didn't. I mean, great learning opportunities. And I can do that internally for myself. It's the publishing and making a big hullabaloo, that self-promotion thing that I'm not a huge self-promoter, I guess.
Well, I hate to say it, but if you're going to be in the workshop business,
Yeah.
the days of running an ad in a magazine, I never did it anyhow, but it's all social media, and it's doing what we're doing here, podcasts
Oh yeah, you got to
and
show.
videos, and you have to stay out and out. It's marketing, unfortunately. And unless you're someone like an Art Wolf, and Art does a lot of it too, but if you're at that level and you've been around for so long, you don't have to. But what I would say is, if you all want to do that, I'd love to see him. If you put us on your blog, if you do a best of, send John and I an email and let us enjoy your work. I would definitely, even if you don't put it on a website or somewhere, I would compile your 10 best photographs for this year. If I were, someone who is, a photographer, and I would go back to 2020 and look at your 10 best from 2020. And if there's no significant improvement, specifically in your ability to see an image, or, if there's no improvement, then 2024 may be a time to work a little harder or whatever. But
for sure,
whether you publish it or not, that's fine. But you all ought to be looking at your work, and I would say every 3 years there should be some kind of and this goes for me too, and I know John, but every 3 or 4 years, you go back 3 or 4 years, your work should be. I've had people tell me that my work is different. For some reason, maybe it's just growing a little older or slowing down a little bit, that I'm doing more simplification every year. And I went back and looked. I said, they're right. I am. And I didn't even realize it. But it's good to go back and look at your work. And we love you all to take workshops. Going to talk about that in a minute, but you can do this on your own. You know, you all know what, if you see an image you're not happy with, you know it.
Yeah.
Believe me,
Oh, yeah.
most of the time. And be critical and be hard on yourself.
But the key is being able to articulate and learn from why I don't like it.
Yep.
That's the hard part that I love to talk to people about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting that language and that critical eye of why doesn't this work for me?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that real quick, Jack. You know, why take workshops? I mean, you and I were throwing this idea back and forth, and go ahead.
It's real simple. You can't learn on YouTube, and you can't learn on Google Images. There's no substitute for going and hear an Art Wolf talk. There's no
Oh
substitute
yeah,
for watching how people go about their business who theoretically should know what they're doing.
and getting feedback on location.
Right.
Yeah.
And not on location in a classroom, but on location in the field.
Yes. Huge difference. And that, you know, and especially for adults, adult learning techniques, you know, taking a photograph, critiquing it, and then trying to figure out how to make it better in the moment is one of the best learning opportunities around. And you don't get that when you're out with friends. You get it with people that are there to instruct and teach.
John, how many times have we done an image review and we're looking at people's images and we don't enunciate this, but we go, damn, how did she see this? I didn't see this.
How
did man, where was I? What was I doing?
Oh yeah.
I've been this place a million times. How did that person see that angle? So it's all about learning, you know, and it's so important. It really is. And
Yeah, it is. So,
John
you
just
know,
nailed
with
it.
all of the wonderful learning, you know, and I think YouTube, you said the Y word, but YouTube is great for technical learning. I want to learn how to do something on my camera or learn how to do something in post processing,
Depending who's teaching it.
depending
Not
who's teaching.
everybody is.
No, but you know, so YouTube's great for a how-to technical side, but it doesn't, and you can't teach creativity via YouTube. And that's where the on location, in person types of discussions are so helpful, is to grow your creativity. I know you and I harp on creativity a lot.
And I guarantee you that, you know, if you talk to people who have taken workshops, for those of you who may be watching this and maybe never taken one, whether you do it with John and I or with Art or with anybody running workshops that knows what they're doing, you will leave inspired. You will leave inspired to go out and want to get out in the world and enjoy where you are. You'll be inspired to, you know, try to tell stories using a camera, just like
Yeah.
a piano player uses a piano.
Yep.
It's a lot to it.
Yeah,
So-
there is. So, you know, workshops are not, there's a purpose for them and a lot of value in them, I think. But the whole point is picking somebody who knows what they're doing and is a good teacher and a good leader and all that. You know, you and I have kind of beat that to death over time. Let me bring up another rant that I'm still sort of working on with you. And I know this is supposed to be a happy holiday episode.
John said to me before we started this,
here's my rant.
This is happy holidays. No rants today. And I said, okay, I'll behave. Now look who's gonna rant.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna rant on the topic of sharpness. Sharpness seems to have been it's coming up a lot now with a lot of videos and articles and other stuff. And and manufacturers making, tons of really pushing the sharpening programs. And I talk to people and interact with them on workshops, and the emphasis that a lot of folks are placing on sharpness, I think, is misguided and misplaced. There's yes, photographs need to be sharp to a point, but that's not the sole defining factor of a photograph, whether it's sharp or not. And people are striving for tack sharpness from the immediate foreground to the distant background, which is unnatural in my, there's atmospheric haze, there's all of this stuff. And if the 10-mile distant mountain is not somewhat soft, then it doesn't feel right. It's not a natural image. And I think that's sort of my rant is that, there's tack sharp and then there's acceptably sharp. And beautiful images don't have to be tack sharp. We just have to have acceptably sharp. And acceptable is, how is the image going to be displayed? Is it just online? Is it printed? What's the viewing distance? And there's natural levels of sharpness. And so, yes, work on your techniques to get sharp photographs, but don't let sharpness be the defining factor for whether a photograph works or not. Creativity in art is not about sharpness.
Couple thoughts.
Rant over.
Let's talk about contrast versus sharpness.
Okay.
And let's talk about what happens when people add I'm a contrast guy.
Yes,
I
you
like
are.
a lot of contrast. If I put my contrast in my image and I start sharpening that, you're sharpening the contrast.
Yeah.
And it's wrong. It doesn't work. You can't sharpen. First of all, when you sharpen a photograph, you can sharpen it for web use on a monitor, or if you're going to make a print. Monitor is easy if you're going to sharpen. If you're going to make a print, you have to sharpen it based upon the distance you're going to be away from the print where you think you're going to hang it on the wall. So, John, that image that's in back of you with the trees and the Tetons in the winter, if you sharpen that, you can say, oh, I'm going to put this in my office and it's going to be 5 feet away. So you process it, great, looks great, great photograph, you sharpen it up, everything's done, you save the file. Somebody comes in your house and says, boy, that's a great photograph, John. I'd like to buy that photograph and I'd like you to make a print for me. And I needed it at 24 by 36 or whatever. And you ask, where are you going to put it? And he says, I'm going to put it 25 feet away from where people are going to see it. And you go, oh no, I sharpened it already for 5 feet away in my office. What do I do? Guess what? Party's over.
Oh, yeah.
So I recommend not sharpening your images until have a file for the web and then have your processed file unsharpened that you can go back to sharpen for the reason and the distance.
Each application,
whatever.
you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But contrast and sharpening are two different things, and they both together can be a prescription for a bad photograph. And we see a lot of it.
Yep. Yeah, we do. So folks, I think that's my rant for the end of the year is don't focus too much on sharpness and think about acceptably sharp versus
I have a
tack
rant.
sharp.
You know what my rant is? Really bad Christmas music in grocery stores. God.
Yeah. Well, 'tis the season, Jack. So, which is a wonderful transition. So, yes, holidays, yes, gift giving. It just kind of came to me earlier this morning. What are some of the coolest gadgets that you've found this year for photography? Do you have anything?
No, I didn't find a whole lot. I'm trying to make my camera bag smaller, but what I will tell you, I'm going to disappear for a minute. not going far. But I have to show you, John, you're gonna really laugh at me now. So I carry an iPhone like everybody else. And you know, when I'm out in the car driving around and I may not have my regular camera gear with me and I see something that I want to photograph, I take my iPhone out and take a photograph, and it does a really good job. But
You have a little
this
point and
is a
shoot.
Sony RX107.
It's a great little point and shoot.
It's got a Zeiss lens in it, 24-200. And you know, it's, if you need to, I don't do it, but it'll shoot 20 frames a second. It's an amazing camera. And it's just, it's about $1,000. It's not cheap,
Yeah.
but man, it fits in my hand.
I know people that carry those as a primary camera. They're
Yeah,
because
I
they're
mean,
light, they're
it'll-
pocketable.
Yeah, so
They're
that's about my
fantastic.
only, that's about my only toy.
Wow.
Here, you know, my New Year's resolution every year is the same. To thin out my equipment.
Yeah.
You know, I've got Fuji lenses that, you know, are some of the older lenses, though good, don't work well on 46 megapixel cameras. So I'm,
Yeah.
you know, I've gotten rid of some of those. You know,
Lots of little stuff. I think the one thing that came to the top of my list that was cool was the you turned me on to it, the USB rechargeable blower.
Yeah.
At Nightcore blower has been a fantastic companion in my bag.
Yeah, put a link on that
Yeah,
as well.
I will for sure.
And I will tell you the other thing that I did do this year.
Yeah.
Is I moved from breakthrough filters to case filters. There's nothing wrong with breakthrough filters. They're great filters. No color shift. They're wonderful products.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with them. Why did I go to case? They're equal, I think, equal to the breakthrough quality, but they're magnetic. So the way they work on a lens is really good. And I could pop the polarizer or an ND on, boom, 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 very quickly. And that's the only reason. And in magnetic filters, I think Case has that. Their system is as good as you can find for ease of operation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at a reasonable price for what they do, and they're great. Folks, I know I've recommended Breakthrough for a lot of years, and I still do. I'm not supported by, I don't get a dime from anybody anymore. Breakthrough makes a great filter, and I would still highly recommend them if you want to screw a filter in. I don't know if they even brought out their magnetic stuff. I know they were talking about it.
They were working on it. Yeah, I don't know if they brought it out.
Even out. But the Case stuff, and a number of people I know, Alistair Ben and a couple other people that I respect, have moved to that system. I did, and I think it's really good.
Yeah.
KASE.
KASE, you bet. I think, you know, for me, it wasn't necessarily a toy or a gadget, but I was introduced to Leo photo products this year.
Yes.
I had heard about them, but when my Gitzo tripod gave up the ghost in Monument Valley with you, I bought a replacement tripod to run out the rest of the year while my Gitzo was repaired, and I bought a Leo photo, and the value and the quality and the performance of that really surprised me. And
it's great stuff.
They do, and it's now going to be my primary tripod because my Gitzo was unrepairable, and so it got elevated.
It makes some great feet too. Some great,
the spikes. Yep.
Your tripod. So if you just go to B&H or Amazon, type in LEOPHOTO.
FOTO.
Leo Photo, and you'll see all this stuff. John, I did it last year. I'm not going to do it this year, but I did gifts for 2022, I think.
Yeah.
It's on my blog. I'll send you the link for that when we're done here, and you can just link that, because they also make a panorama head that I use for vertical pans. Because when you do a vertical pan, you've got to get that level, and you're kind of, I have to do like 5 of them to get one that works, because I move, But on this thing, it's now so precise that I can knock it out in one thing. It's on that document that I'm going to send you.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
They're a great company.
Yep, they are. I think the last thing that sort of caught my eye is not necessarily a gadget, but I just picked up a new book that's a little bit heavy, but it's called Visual Thinking, from an author called Rudolf Arnheim, and he does art and visual perception. This is the companion book to that. And for those of you that want to dive into how we humans process visual information, Rudolf is the guy, and he does not have a red nose.
Rudolph the red-nosed thinker.
Yeah, he does not have a red nose, but Visual Thinking, Rudolf Arnheim. That's a fantastic book. So Jack, what's going on for next year? What are you looking forward to for next year?
Well, for those of you who don't know, I've developed this autoimmune disease called myasthenia gravis, and what it is, it's your muscles are controlled by your brain, which they did a CAT scan and found nothing. It's a little joke. But I get tired easy, and they're regulating medication, so I'm a lot better. It's going to be fine. We had a client in the Eastern Sierra who had this, Mike Levine. Mike's been a great source of knowledge and support. I didn't even know he had it, so it's totally controllable. They're in the middle of doing that now. So for those of you, and I've gotten a few emails, why are there no workshops up on your website? Well, I'm not putting a whole lot up till this is controlled. I will be in the Palouse with John.
Yep.
I'd say there's 95% chance of that. Eastern Sierra, I'm going to try to get out there with John. I'd say that's probably 60-40 that I'll be there, assuming that everything goes well. And once I'm back and I'm feeling I can travel, more, there'll be more stuff going up. But I have a Spring Smokies here and a couple other things up on the website. But I'll be adding more, but that's why there's nothing there right now. I have a fair amount of one-on-ones going on here, which is good. And I've got a couple of private group things with some clients that want to go places as a group, and I'm going to Alaska with one, to Olympic with one. So, and a couple other things. So that's that. It's not a workshop, but I'm going to be out in Arkansas with Dennis Yarborough. You remember Dennis, right? He was in the Palouse with us.
I know Dennis quite well.
Yeah.
We text all the time.
He's become an expert on eclipse photography. You should see the work he did. I was supposed to be with him in California or in Utah for the last eclipse in October, and I couldn't be there because of this thing. But he got some great stuff, and he studied this. So I'm going to learn from him, Dennis. If you listen to this, you're the best. We'll be out there in April. It'll be 100%. But watch, I'll get out there in April, and you know what happens in Arkansas in April? It rains.
Yeah.
So probably
lots of eclipses during the rain.
But if it rains, we'll drive down the Ozarks or something and do some photography. Yeah. But so I have to get my act together here, and it's slowly becoming better and better. And I think this year and probably next year, John and I will probably do a little bit more than we're going to do this year. I just need to get this together and
we're looking.
But I missed the Tetons this winter. You don't know. We had a great gathering here in the Smokies with some friends that weekend, but I'm thinking Pedersen's out in the Tetons, and I'm doing this. So
Yep. I
one way or the
can't,
other,
I
I
can't
will
miss
be
the
there.
Teton, so I gotta
next-
do I'm working on the permit for that for 2024 this week, so. Yeah, looking forward to getting back there next year.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
and you know, folks, I know, and John didn't ask me to say this, but you know, the stuff that John's doing, I know he's doing the Oregon coast and some other things. John does a great job, and you know, my clients, if I'm not doing something, you'll other than hearing the same horrible humor that you hear every workshop,
yeah.
you won't hear that, but you'll get the same experience with John. So support
Well,
him and
thank you.
work with him, and
Thank you.
you'll come away with being a better photographer.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah.
I'll
All
send you a
right.
bill.
Well, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, again, I just wanted to thank everybody for everything, not just this year, but for this is next year will be, I think, do the math, it's about 24 years or 25 years for me in this crazy thing, and it's all good. It's all good.
All
Very,
good.
very
Well,
lucky.
folks, thank you very much for being listeners of this wonderful little program that Jack and I do. And we both hope you have a fantastic holiday season. Stay safe above all else. And don't forget to photograph during the winter. It's a magical time. So if you can, get out there and shoot, because
+1.
+1 if you're in the snow, +1 exposure compensation.
+1.
That's the parting tip for the day. All right, folks. Well, thank you. Stay
Okay.
tuned. Happy holidays.
Have a good one, folks, and we'll see you in 2024 soon.
Yes. All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye bye.